Hello, I just wanted to tell you about something funny that happened to me 3 years ago. I was sitting here in this space actually when I suddenly had a funny whooshing sensation in my head and my vision went kaleidoscopic. And I knew something was wrong, so I went to hospital and they said I had a migraine. But while I was there, they discovered I also had an aneurysm, and the aneurysm hadn't ruptured. So I was hospitalized for 11 days because it took that time for them to transfer my case to the regional hospital, which would monitor the aneurysm. And then I came home and was given the option to either do nothing or go ahead and have the aneurysm clipped, both of which carry risks. And my aneurysm was a higher risk because it was bulging. It had a daughter that was also bulging. So that was the decision. In the meantime, because I'd lost my balance, I couldn't walk much at all. I was crawling around in the house. I needed help to walk, and I couldn't really do very much. So after a few months, actually, I was given medication that helped, and I was able to walk again. But what nobody prepares you for, I don't think, during that stage is that medically you're being monitored and you're going through the process of making this decision as to whether or not to have the surgery. But the sort of emotional, spiritual, practical, logistical side of things, like, well, I'm not working, can't get any money, you know, what about emotional support? Who's going to help? What if the worst happens? What do I need to have in place? All of that I just sort of was working my way through. In the end, I decided I was going to have the surgery, but it took 18 months before I actually had it because of various delays that happened along the way. So for 18 months I was just waiting. And I decided actually during that time, because I couldn't do much, I'd always loved the tarot, or not loved it, let's say, I'd always been interested, I'd had it with me, and I decided to learn it properly. And I had also trained as a relaxation therapist, and so I did some relaxations for myself. I had read that if you go into major surgery and the anaesthetic feeling in a relaxed state rather than a stressed state, then that can help improve your health outcomes. And I assume that that's because your body's under less stress at the point at which you're being operated on than it would be if you also had your body in high alert and high stress. So I created relaxations for myself to use in the lead up to the surgery, so that at the point when I had the anaesthetic, I could go into a relaxed state, which I did. And I was really fortunate. You know, I came out, and I don't know whether I could say that that was because of the relaxation work I did, but I did have a really good recovery, and I'm doing really well. You know, I have some sensory processing things sometimes, but on the whole, I'm doing really, really well. I've got to acknowledge that I'm really, really, really lucky because my aneurysm didn't rupture. You know, I didn't go into hospital as an emergency with a ruptured aneurysm, and I really, really feel for people who that has happened to. And I know, you know, if that's happened to you and you're watching this, I just want you to know I know how lucky I am that didn't happen. And during those 18 months of waiting, thinking, well, it could happen any minute, but it didn't. You know, I'm very, very lucky. Anyway, afterwards, I came out thinking, well, you know, it gave me a new perspective, and I started to think that actually what I wanted was to spend more time doing things that I enjoy and that I've always been interested in. And that led me to creating Calm in a Crazy World, which is all my workbooks and programs and sort of self-growth, self-understanding, journaling, reflection, relaxation, mind-body programs that I've created and that are on my website. But I also created a workbook called Peace for Health, which is for people who are in that position that I was in, where you're waiting for surgery, trying to find ways to feel relaxed about it, but trying to sort of address also the emotional and spiritual and logistical aspects of all of that, because there isn't really anything for that. You're sort of on your own with that. You might be medically supported, but you're not supported with that other range of things. So I put together everything that I used and that I found useful to create this workbook program. And there were also a couple of simple relaxations in there, and some tips and guidance for creating your own relaxations to help you feel in more of a, or help your body feel in more of a relaxed state when you go for surgery. So I hope that you find this interesting if you're somebody who's in that position of waiting for surgery. I hope that if you want to look at any of my programs, you find them useful, especially the Peace for Health. But whether or not you do, I just want to say, you know, thank you for listening, for spending this time with me. And I'll put links below, and good luck with everything. All right, take care. Bye-bye.